So we're going live on Facebook. I'm about to have us go live on Instagram. And live on Instagram. And looks like Facebook too. All right.
Well, I'm so glad you do all of this and I have not to do any of that work.
Well, usually the technology does the work, but you know.
Right. Somebody has to facilitate it, and I sure am glad it's you and not me. I'm not sure if I could facilitate all three of these mediums at the same time. All right. Who's on?
Yeah, right now, not anyone other. Mariam's on Zoom, so we got Zoom.
Hi,
We got three different things going on right now.
Okay.
Perfect. So yeah.
All right, let's get started. So I know that we are kind of starting to, as this is going on and on, different types of feelings and emotions are coming up for people. And in general, there's a little bit more talk of anxiety and uncertainty that's happening. And I think the news that we're receiving, it's quite, it seemed this week that it was quite unknown, which is like the #1 recipe to feeling uneasy about the situation that we're in. So what the feedback that I've been receiving, Anuschka, from my patients this week is just, it's been all over the place, right? People are just anxious and they just, you know, they're not sure. People who have kids, they're receiving a lot of news about, are they going to go back to school next semester? Are they not? So there's just a lot of unknown. So how do you deal with unknown?
Yeah, and I've been, you know, hearing a lot of that, you know, hearing people losing jobs even more, not sure what's going to happen. You know, some are saying, oh, I think we're going back May 1st, but there's still not really any certainty in anything. For me personally, how I've been coaching my clients and how I, you know, deal with this, I actually just look at it as like, look, this is like, anytime we think about the future in any way of it going a certain, you know, way, and the whole what ifs, that is going to create anxiety. Mm-hmm. And right now, thinking about it is going to create it even more, because there literally is uncertainty. So how are we even going to, you know, envision an uncertain world without being, you know, for me, it's like, let's be present. So that's actually one of the biggest things that I've been focusing on is, let's be present. Let's be present and know that it's all going to eventually work out. Just time-wise, no idea. So it literally, for me, is moment by moment, not even day by day at this point, you know. And I know we've talked about that many times already, and I get it. It can be tough because it's like a global thing right now. And yeah.
And it's not like, you know, issues that perhaps we've dealt with in the past where, you know, that particular issue affects one person or one group of people and not, it just seems now that, you know, when you're in the middle of a pandemic that we have, I mean, this is the first time in my life that I'm experiencing it. It's not like we have any experience with this.
No one
it's
does.
Even difficult as a mental health professional to say, you know, to give people some emotional support as far as, oh, it's going to be okay. You know what I mean? Like, how do we know it's going to be okay? So that's another whole thing that, you know, like we're starting to deal with, like, are we really going to be okay? So then I think then today, this morning, I started to read a little bit, and I think it made this one thing that I read made a lot of sense to me, that life and nature has its own way of cycles, that no matter what we do, right, it's going to do its own thing.
That hence the extinctions in the past.
And so the best thing that we can do is stop interrupting it. Right? So, and stop that interrupt, like, how do I stop it? It's not necessarily like on the level of environment or this and that. It first starts like in my head and how I am going to stop to interrupt this whole process, so that I'm not constantly in the mental space of controlling it. Because, whenever we try to control something,
we have zero control, other than the control of like what we, put in our mouths and the thoughts we have. Like, we do not have control.
Right, exactly. So, and then whenever we go into that mental space, then we're really tensing things up, right? We're definitely like going into the space of, now I'm really tense because I got to fix something, right? And I think when we go into that space is when we really actually block ourselves, right? So it's been interesting. It's this week's been quite interesting. I have terrible allergies, and I have not been able to go outside at all actually this week, because I am afraid that what if I have an allergy attack? What if, for some reason I start to have respiratory issues? So I'm just going to stay in, right? But that staying in has really caused a lot of feeling down, right? Yeah. So I'm not exercising as much. Do you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
So now we're starting to, I feel like on a personal level, we're starting to get into the grunt of this, right?
Yeah, I've noticed that too this week. Like it's literally been, I always say life is like a roller coaster, but yesterday I went mountain biking with my husband, and I'm like, it's actually more like a mountain biking path. I wrote a whole blog about it, but no, I totally get it, because the days that I don't, go and do something outside the house, even if that means just sitting in my deck and getting some sun, I notice a difference in my days and in my mental health for sure. So I totally understand that. And I know one of the things you were saying was, this whole thing of like, well, how are we going to know it's okay? Well, how are we going to know anything, right? Like we don't know anything. We literally have zero control. And I feel like during these times, it's a really great time to actually really see that within ourselves, because there are people that are, complete control freaks, and they freak out when things don't go as expected. And I believe that that's a perfect time to work on that, like that part of you, to heal that and just surrender to, hey, everything is like having faith, right? Having that faith is really what it comes in. I don't say faith in the sense of a religious term or anything. Like, to me, faith means, believing in something without knowing what believing in uncertainty and how it's going to come out. That's what I believe in. Anytime there's any doubt of any kind, trust, faith, belief, all of it goes out the door. So how do we do that? Is like literally believing and having the faith that it is going to be okay. And that this is for the highest good of the planet and the highest good of all the people.
Right.
In the long run. Right now we're just.
Yeah. I mean, and I think on like sometimes on a personal level, when issues like this come up or happen, where we feel that it's so much bigger than what we can handle at the moment, I think that we also start to recognize the consequences of the way we've lived life, because it just doesn't pay off, right? Because things are so different that you have to almost adjust to a new way of doing things, right? So that's been something else that I have really been thinking about and dealing with, as far as dealing with my clients this week, right? Yeah. And you know that I'm a addiction specialist. So, and with that comes, all sorts of other uncertainties, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking,
the clients I work with, their diagnoses, and yeah, totally. So it's like a whole nother level of it on top of the pandemic, dealing with the tough news that people receive right now, it's like totally.
Yeah. So I think, for today's live, I feel like this is not a very uppity up, but this is where we are. This is where we are emotionally. We're just starting to struggle a bit, and it's okay to recognize that emotionally I'm struggling, right?
Yeah. And feeling it actually, and not, saying, okay, you know what, I'm just going to ignore this feeling and then let me just go and run outside or whatever that looks like for each person. Because one of the things, just to, continue with that, one of my, clients, she like has a lot of judgment around not doing, like not being as productive, not doing as much. And we had a very powerful session where, it's like, hey, the masculine energy has been running the world for a long time, right? We've had the feminine energy, masculine energy. It's like, I really do believe this is a time to really just go internal and to, really bring out that feminine energy. And this goes for all, like all humans, not just women, like men, women, we all have the, masculine and feminine energy. So it's like bringing that to balance, because it's been out of balance for so long. And that being and just going internal and staying at home to, deal with your allergies and allowing it to pass, like all of this is still productive because you're feeding that feminine energy. You're bringing that into, the yin and yang, it's like all of it, bringing that into balance. So it's like, there's nothing wrong with not doing. I mean, go, 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 which is why we're here.
And there's nothing wrong with feeling down for a period of time, knowing that, that's also a valid feeling, and tomorrow will be another day. One of the things that I normally say during times that are hard, and and just kind of like a cliche-ish almost thing that I say, but it's absolutely true. I'm like, somehow miraculously that sun always comes out in the morning. Like, it doesn't care what I'm going through. Like, it's just going to pop up, and and then it's just going to be there. And some days it's cloudy, so I don't really necessarily see it or experience it, but I know for a fact that it just clearly does not care what we are going through. It's going to do its thing. It's going to come up.
It doesn't care if there's clouds or whatever. It's still going to be there. There's still light. We still have light outside. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and so that's like the biggest thing for me that I keep saying is like, hey, if there are tears to release, let them flow. Don't stop them. I cried this morning. I don't know what it was. And I was like, okay, it's coming. So let me let it flow. I'm not going to stop it because there's no point in letting it like what are you stopping it for? There's so much power in vulnerability. There's so much power in feeling your feelings, because then you can unfold and get to that next level and actually see, okay, well, what am I making all this mean? Or what's actually going on with me? And really just getting to know who we are at our core even more.
Yes, this is true. And I think challenging times, what it does to getting to know your core a little bit more is that it provokes it, right? It provokes getting to know that core that most often in life we're so busy that we don't even notice it, right? Those belief systems, things that people said you believed, and then you lived your life based on it, right? But it's times like this that these things pop up, and then you don't have really anything to distract you. So guess what? You're going to have to face it.
Yep. Yeah, it's literally shining light and illuminating all the stuff that we've been trying to bury deep within us. And it's like, okay, now is the perfect time and it's a choice. It's of course a choice. You can continue to bury it and struggle and, stay agitated, or you can choose to see, okay, well, what's underneath this? And that's, what we're here for, right? And that's why we do these daily tips. That's why we go live, to see how we can support people in whatever it is that they're dealing with.
Right. So are there any comments? You see that side, I don't.
No, I see people joining, but yeah, I mean, I'd love to, with both of us.
Let's open it up. Let's ask
anybody.
What are we struggling with? What maybe this week was not a struggle for some people. Yeah. Maybe this was actually a good week for some people.
Totally.
And
nobody's, I'm getting waves. So hi everyone that's watching.
When I used to teach and I would pose a question, I would tell people that, I would tell my students, I'm like, well, if you don't volunteer, I'm going to, I'm going to call your name.
And I used to be the one when if I heard that, I would literally try to hide.
There were those students too, you know,
I'm like,
and then
please, I'm invisible. But
so
oh yeah,
any
it looks like Miriam would love to share. Yeah,
oh,
please hear from you.
Yeah, my name is Miriam. This week was a little bit easier for me because our family and I mean, we have been very fortunate that we didn't lose our jobs, and we're still working. I have a little one at home, however, but just watching your daily tips, I actually started exercising more than before.
Awesome.
And studying, your daily tips, and then the other one that I really like from your daily tip that it helped me, it's small projects. So I've been, all the things that you say, it's just cleaning my room and cleaning my house, and I've been adding those. But then the most important one was I told myself that when I go back to my office, I just wanted to be thinner. So I need to lose some weight. So this uncertainty is, in a way, it's kind of helping me, because if it drags, if it gets longer, so I can lose more weight. So I'm just looking at it this way, and it feels, because I'm one of those type A personalities that I would like to know when it's gonna over, but I kind of tricking my mind by saying that if it drags more, and if it drags longer, and then I'll be losing more weight, and putting like those small projects around the house for myself. So I'll be having more time to clean up the things that I've never ever done, like cleaning windows. So these are the things that I'm catching up. And then this past week, thanks to your daily tips, was easier overall for me. So and tricking my minds in a way. I have to just add that the first 2 weeks I gained a lot of weight. So I'm still losing that weight, but I'm hoping that I'll lose more, and then I'll be thinner when I go back to office.
Miriam, I love, first of all, thank you so much for sharing the difference that the daily tips have made for you. I think that really makes me super happy to hear. I'm sure Samar as well.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Because
sometimes I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, and I was just gonna say, and I love that you are seeing the, the positive side of everything, even with this whole, like, let me go back to work even later so I can even get more fit, or, whatever that looks like for you. But yeah, that's awesome.
I think that sometimes when you do virtual stuff like this and you're not sure how you're impacting whose life, we work with people directly, so we see that impact. But like doing these daily tips or going live, we just don't really experience that impact, right? So that when she was sharing that, it made me feel so good, because I'm like, oh, great. Because I always feel that the work that I do, even if it helps 1 or 2 people, right, that's my work is done.
Yep.
And so for her to share that she's actually like taking our tips, and
I know, I love it.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, great. That really kind of pumped me up for next week's daily tips.
Totally. Yeah, thank you. Literally, that makes a huge difference, because what I do notice is a lot of times people watch, videos, or they'll read things, but they'll never mention, they won't like it, won't comment on it. So no idea to what extent are impacted. And then it's like, it's always great to hear that feedback. So it gives us an inspiration to continue.
And I think that the fact that you're taking these tips and it has inspired you to, do a little bit of self-evaluation as far as, oh, okay, I want to be a bit thinner. To me, that means I want to be healthier, right? and or doing the small projects, I think that's really great. I mean, I'm so happy that what we've done has made an impact.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Anybody else? Are there comments?
No, I haven't. I'm not seeing anybody else, and I know we're coming up on 30 minutes as well.
Okay.
Might just be it for the day, unless
right.
anybody else going once, going twice. No.
There we go.
Oh, I saw Malahat join. Hi, Malahat. She believes she's watching it from Facebook.
Okay. Hi.
But yeah, looks like I'm not getting any comments here. So
So here we go. I think we can ask a few questions and ask people to leave us comments. Obviously, if this is really helpful to you and you'd like for us to continue to do this, I mean, we're committed to it. And if you want us to talk about a certain topic, leave us a comment and let us know. That would be really helpful. And leave comments on the daily tips. Give us some feedback. That's also really helpful, because again, when it's virtual, at one point you kind of feel like, well, which way is this going? Should I continue to do it or not? I know we've committed, we're going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. But even for me, it comes up. I'm like, well, is this even making a difference? Are people even coming to see this? Because that's, this is our time too, as much as I'm enjoying doing this. And, like Samar said, for me, it's like, as long as I know, like, at least even one person is impacted, then I've done my job. And it'd be nice, to see, get some feedback and whatnot. Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah.
Cool.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks. Thank you, Miriam, for sharing with us. It was awesome. And everybody else that joined. And have a wonderful rest of your Friday and weekend.
Bye.
Bye.